The number one question that we get from our students: what makes good dialogue? People are always terrified about dialogue, except for the people who are really comfortable about dialogue, and then they're like, it's fine for me. But most people are kind of scared about dialogue. You had a reaction to that, Beth. What was your thought?
Well, if you're focused on what your character wants, would dialogue be a way to get it?
Yeah, that's you've nailed it. So dialogue, if you're scared about dialogue, it usually means that you're focused on what your character is saying. If you're scared about dialogue, it usually means you're focused on what your character is saying, which means that you're actually not understanding what dialogue is. Because if you understand what dialogue is, you know that dialogue is not what your characters say. Dialogue is actually something your characters do to one another. Before you try to write good dialogue, the first thing you want to find out is your dialogue actually dialogue, or is your dialogue actually talk? Because there's a gigantic difference between talk and dialogue. Hey, how you doing? Good, good. How are you? I'm fine. How was your day? Oh, it was nice. Beautiful weather. This is not dialogue. This is talk. And even if I have a brilliant way of saying, hi, how you doing, beautiful weather, even if I'm incredibly funny or incredibly unique, as the writer, if you're writing dialogue in that way, you've got to do so much work. You've got to work so darn hard because your characters aren't doing any of the heavy lifting for you. The characters are like, I don't want anything. You just go ahead and figure out how I talk. And that's really, really hard. And what that means is that you have to start to make all these decisions about your character, instead of just letting your character do the hard work and you be the person who's transcribing what they say. So if your dialogue is not working, the first thing you want to ask yourself is, do you know what the character wants? And not just do you know what the character wants in general, like, oh, the character wants love. Oh, the character wants her father to forgive her. Oh, the character wants a new job. What is the very specific want that the character has right here in this scene? And what's the very specific plan that your character came up with the moment before they entered this scene that's going to allow them to get what they want, or that they think is? Because things never turn out the way we plan, right? So what's the very specific want? And you want to make sure that the reason that they're using dialogue is to get that want from the other character. That they're using that dialogue to seduce, to cajole, to inspire, to abuse. And you notice when we're describing that dialogue that I'm using a verb to describe the dialogue, right? I'm not using an adjective, right? I'm not saying like, they talk funnily. I'm saying what they do with the dialogue, the action that they're taking with the dialogue. If you do this, even if your dialogue isn't brilliant yet, it's going to be effective. It's going to feel real. And it's going to move your story forward. Even if you're not blessed, some students are just blessed with an ear. They can just hear their characters, and it just seems they can just get those lines that you wish you could get. And not every writer has the same strength. So if dialogue is harder for you, the first thing you want to make sure is that your character is using that dialogue. That there's a strong verb under every single thing that they say, that they're trying to get something with every single line that they say. You also want to make sure that the character they're talking to also has a really strong want and a really strong plan. Because sometimes we end up with a scene that looks like this. So tell me more. Really? Oh my God, that happened to you? No way. Where one character has some crappy dialogue that's just enabling the other character to talk. Where the other character's got this really strong want and this amazing story. So if you found that you have one character who's really doing stuff with their dialogue and the other who's like, tell me more. Yes, I'd like to know about that, right? Interesting. What's happening is the conflict, the structure of your story is dropping out. Once again, your characters aren't working for you anymore. So take out that enabling dialogue. Take out the questions that your character is asking. Take out the prompts for dialogue. Take out the really? Oh my God. And allow the other character to have something they're trying to get, that they want as badly as your first character. When you do this, your dialogue is going to come to life, whether you have a natural gift for it or not. So I want you to, in your first draft, I want you to write all the way through the scene, just making sure that the character is trying to get something with every single line that they say. When you get to the end of that draft, you're either going to have an amazing scene with amazing dialogue, or you're going to have a very good scene with good dialogue. If you have an amazing scene with amazing dialogue, you get to write the next scene. If you have a good scene with good dialogue, it usually means that this word is going on with your dialogue. Normal. If your dialogue is working, your characters are doing actions with their dialogue, but you're not feeling like the dialogue feels inspired or special or specific or unique to your character, it probably means that there's something normal about the dialogue. So, for example, if I'm at a bar and I'm trying to pick up some beautiful girl, and I say, hey, can I buy you a drink? Well, that's action. That I'm doing something, and maybe she even has a great, action too. Maybe she's really just trying to get to the guy standing behind me, and she's like arcing her head, and she's like, excuse me, could you just slide over just a little bit? Right? And that's a fun little scene. But at the end of the day, I still have a boring piece of dialogue, which is me saying, hey, can I buy you a drink? Which is a boring piece of dialogue, not because it's bad dialogue. Everybody's used this line, right? It's boring dialogue because it's normal. It's normal, and that means that any character trying to ask out somebody at a bar might use the words, hey, can I buy you a drink? So if you find that you have normal dialogue, don't despair. First ask yourself, is there an action underneath it? If there is, it's good dialogue. Then you just want to ask yourself this question. How? How does my character say this one line, this one little verb of trying to get an introduction? How does my character say this line in a slightly different way than any other character would say it? This doesn't mean that your character has to be profound, that every line needs to be amazing. Simply going up to somebody at a bar and going, Jägermeister, is already better than can I buy you a drink? Because it's more specific. It gives us a little something about the character. We know this character likes Jägermeister. It gives us something specific to play with and to build on. There's also a different rhythm to it, right? Saying one word like Jägermeister is different than saying, can I buy you a drink? And you might start to find that, oh, well, maybe this character has a rhythm where he kind of uses these one-word lines. Jägermeister also makes him feel a little bit more confident, right? The guy who goes, oh, can I buy you a drink, is a slightly different than the one who's like, Jägermeister? And so you notice I didn't come up with an amazing line of dialogue for you. I came up with a slightly different line of dialogue for you. Once you have that slightly different, slightly more specific, slightly more unique line for your character, you can start to learn just from that line how your character talks. And you can start to ask yourself, how is the next line similar, or how is the next line different?